Horse racing, as we know it, has humble beginnings. It's not well known that the traditions we see here at the Derby started in a field in rural Kentucky.
WDRB's Dalton Godby tells us the story of how horse racing's origins trace back to his hometown.
On an early Saturday morning in May, it is quiet in Lincoln County, Kentucky. Spring birds sing songs among the glistening dew on the grass while the sun peeks over the knobs, giving life to a new season. On Derby Day in the bluegrass, the serenity here is alone in stillness. 104 miles away, the opposite could be said for that bustling place on Central Avenue in Louisville. Bourbon whiskey and smoke from fine cigars fill the grandstands with an aroma only found in these hallowed grounds. The crowds, the atmosphere, the horses, the noise, it is loud. But today, that quiet field in Lincoln County shares a deafening tone with Churchill Downs. One with noise, the other with history.
We know where it all began.
To understand this, you must begin with the story of William Whitley.
Whitley County, Whitley City, and Williamsburg, Kentucky are all named after him.
It is best told by two women, two friends who carry on his legacy.
Everything he needed was right here.
It's a story that begins in this field and ends in Louisville. Around the time of the Revolutionary War, in the late 1700s, William Whitley settled on this land in Lincoln County where he would build Kentucky's first brick house. He'd also build a horse racing track directly in front of the home that still stands.
William Whitley had the first circular racetrack on clay here, and of course he ran his horses counterclockwise.
The war drove Whitley to hate the British, who had also popularized horse races in England. Whitley's disdain led to the creation of a tradition that would later mold the sport around the world.
Really didn't like the British, to put it politely. And so he raced his horses opposite of the British. He went counterclockwise on dirt instead of clockwise on grass.
This knob in the center of a field in Kentucky is where it all began.
The racetrack was around the bottom of the hill, and the spectators stood on the top so they could watch the whole race.
A half-mile track around the knob would soon draw Americans from everywhere.
They probably dressed very well at that time because it was a party, and it was also a social event.
Social event, a big gathering where you dress fancy and eat and watch horse races. That sounds a lot like the Kentucky Derby.
It does. It really does.
Whitley's racing style spread around the world and led to the creation of a new track down the road in Crab Orchard. Every spring, the Crab Orchard Derby was the biggest race of the year.
Many of the jockeys that rode in the early derbies in Louisville had ridden and trained in the Crab Orchard Springs area.
Racing there stopped during the Civil War. But Colonel Jack Chinn, who owned 1883 Derby winner Leonatus, stated, when the South lost the Civil War, it wouldn't be far-fetched to say that it lost the Derby to Louisville. What was equivalent to the Derby before was the Crab Orchard Derby.
We lost the racing to Louisville.
The racing may now be in Louisville, but its story began here. Whitley died in 1813, but his racing remains on the biggest stage.
I think you would be amazed at the crowd that they have at Churchill Downs and the excitement that's around it.
I think he would be amazed, but I also think he would be very proud.
I often wonder what William Whitley would think if he could walk past 1 Central Avenue today. I imagine his feelings would be that of another Kentuckian. Me, a boy from Lincoln County, proud of 2 places to call ours, rooted in history and honored in tradition. With photojournalist Stuart Hammer, Dalton Godby, WDRB News.